Batman. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 27 in 1939. The Batman quickly became an iconic character, spawning over 13 movies, 9 solo animated series, a ridiculous amount of comics, and about 50 video games. Over the years, the character's been portrayed in countless different ways, like the Dark Knight, lurking in the shadows, or the silly Adam West Batman, who's built like a Whole Foods greeter. How does anybody keep track of the different iterations of this character without losing their mind? Most of the Batman games have either been lost to time or just overlooked in favor of the more obvious ones, but not today. No, I'm gonna rank every Batman game, and I'm gonna put them on a tier list starting with S tier being the highest, moving down to A, B, C, D, and F tier being the lowest. I wanna make it clear this is not an objective ranking. This is all based on my personal opinion, and there's a strong possibility I am going to think different things from you. So I encourage you, please, balance your chakras and refrain from putting any foreign objects in my mailbox. It is not that serious. If you have a different opinion, put it down here in the comments and maybe we can talk about it. And with that being said, please enjoy. Starting off with Batman from 1986. This is what Joe Rogan sees when he takes DMT. This one is a goofy little puzzle game that's entertaining enough for its time. But the main thing I noticed about it is that it doesn't have a lot to do with Batman. You just go around collecting different little things, but there's nothing that necessarily screams Batman about this. I mean, a year later, the developers pretty much reskinned the exact same game, but just took all the Batman stuff out and called it head over heels. I think it's an alright game for what it is, but it's just, I mean, it's not a Batman game. So I'm gonna give this an F tier. Batman, the Caped Crusader, 1988. What stood out to me about this game was the way it was laid out in comic panels, and when you would go forward it would move over a comic panel, when you go back it would do the same thing. I think it was a cool style to shoot for and especially impressive in 1988, but it just really didn't function the way I had hoped it would and ultimately got very confusing for me. I will say I'm not really great with older game jank, and this one was just hard to enjoy for any period of time. I also can't hit anybody to save my goddamn life, and I feel like if I listen to this soundtrack any longer, I'm going to be turned into a worm and put back in the dirt. Mud, put water in dirt, make mud, squirm in mud. It's already happening to me. I think what it was trying to do was cool, it just does not hold up over time, so I'm gonna have to give this one a D tier. Batman the movie, 1989. This is one of the first ones that I played that actually kind of felt like a Batman game, because you see you have the gadgets of Batman, like you have the grappling hook, and that changes a lot for me. Like, in my opinion, you need a grappling hook to be a Batman game, or you're just kind of man. Also, I have no idea what these faces are doing here, but they're hilarious. This is my Joker, and this is my Batman. This one is clearly a step up from the previous games, but it's still a little clunky to play. Overall, I think it's good for the time, and I'm gonna give it a C tier. Batman for NES in 1990. I did not play much of this one. It is barely a Batman game. I mean, there's a wall jump. That's great, because Batman loves to jump on walls. This is clearly when they were just giving the license out to anyone. I don't know. Not really worth my time. F tier. Batman SEGA 1990. Finally. An old game I don't suck at. I'm normally so bad at video games, especially the older, unforgiving ones. So this was a nice change of pace for me, and I actually enjoyed the game. The music in this one is also pretty good. It's nothing crazy, but I enjoy it. While it was fairly simple, the switch between ground and vehicle stuff kept things interesting for the duration, which isn't very long. It's super simple, but I enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a C tier. Batman PC, 1990. So this is Pac-Man. I'm playing Pac-Man, right? It's Batman, Pac-Man. He's running around, he's collecting the things. It's like if Pac-Man could punch somebody. I have no idea who these unlicensed clowns are running around, but I know one thing for certain. I need to be flung like this guy. I'm gonna give Pac-Man a D tier. Batman Return of the Joker. Snyder fans are going to love this one. Batman has got that thing on full auto. He's letting it rip. He's going to town and just blasting everybody. It was to the point where I was wondering if I had broken the game because it was just insane. It's a small nitpick for an old game, but I see these visual artifacts here at the edge. I don't know if that was just my game that was broken or if it was just like that, but it's very distracting. I mean, the gameplay was pretty slidey. It was fun for about 20 minutes, but overall, I'm gonna have to give it like a C tier. Batman Returns, 1993. I actually really liked all the animations in this game. I thought they were well done, and being able to use the grappling hook in this way felt good. It made the game feel much faster, I guess. While the combat was a little unfair at times, I want to say it captured that arcade-like feel very well. It's an improvement over a lot of the last games, but it's very clear to me that the license at this time was just being thrown around. Finally! I'm gonna give it a C tier. Batman, the animated series. I've never been a huge fan of the old Game Boy games, but I think the black and white specifically really lends itself to a Batman game. It's a little more restrictive than some of the older entries, but it still allows for things like the grapple or Batman's famous wall jump, everybody. I think the art style here, even in a Game Boy setting, is really great, and specifically using the music from the animated series, I think made this so much better. It might just be because I really like the animated series, but I enjoyed this game a lot. It's a pretty short game, but I enjoyed it for what it was, so I'm gonna give this one our very first B tier. The Adventures of Batman and Robin Genesis. The music, the art design, just the overall vibe of this game is iconic. This is a really good arcade-style Batman game that improves on everything before it, and in my opinion, is very memorable. I didn't enjoy a lot of the sections where you're flying around in this like bat jet thing, just shooting batarangs and stuff. But a lot of the ground stuff I thought was good. The one thing I'll say is that the gameplay doesn't really do it for me. I mean, everything else is great. It's just I don't enjoy specifically the flying combat where you're shooting out these batarangs. It just wasn't fun for me. It felt like kind of a bore. I will say this game was way harder for me than I feel like it should have been. I don't know if it was just me, if it's just me not being good at the games, but God, I had such a struggle. It really what's impressive to me here is that this is on the Sega Genesis, and I don't know that there was a lot like this at the time. Everything here was really impressive for the system, and I think that alone earns this game B tier. The Adventures of Batman and Robin SNES. I know I talked a big game about the other one, but man, the art in this game is just peak for this time in Batman. I feel like this era, right after that wave of like Keaton licensed games, they really like pushed the boundaries of what they were making with Batman games and made some cool stuff. This is one of the cool things. There were a ton of iconic characters packed into this entire game, and the level design here was probably my favorite in older games. Like this roller coaster level with Joker, it just looks awesome. Or the Riddler boss fight. Or the boss fight against Poison Ivy. God, everything reminds me of her. It has a great soundtrack, and I think my only complaint for this game is the same complaint I have for most games around this time, is that the combat feels a little clunky. Other than that though, it's a really impressive game, especially for the time. So I'm gonna give it a B tier. The Adventures of Batman and Robin Sega CD. This is an episode of Batman the Animated Series where you get to briefly be Batman's Uber driver. After playing this game, I better be getting a tip and 5 stars. You really might as well just go online and watch all the cutscenes, because this is just stupid. This sucks. F tier. Justice League Task Force. So this one seems like it's their first shot at a fighting game, and it's made by Blizzard, of all people, the greatest game studio of all time. I love you so much, Blizzard. You've never done anything wrong. I'll give you a little kiss on your forehead. Unfortunately, this game kind of sucks. I mean, it's just like, makes no sense. Darkseid has invaded, so now, playing as Batman, I have to fight Superman. I don't really get it. I think they just wanted an excuse to make a fighting game with these characters, but it's not fun, especially in the lens of Batman, right? There's not really much Batman about playing him. It's really, you could have skinned him as anything. It also doesn't help that it's crazy hard and I just kept dying. The only way I was able to get this footage and actually try out the character was by making it 2-player, but not having a second controller plugged in so I could just fight and they wouldn't move. Maybe I'm just mad because I kept getting my ass beat, but I'm gonna give it an F tier. The Adventures of Batman and Robin Cartoon Maker. So I messed around with this one for a couple hours and I made a masterpiece. And I ask you to rank my cartoon in the comments. Enjoy. Batman Forever 1995. I'm not gonna lie, this shit really sucks. I'm so tired of the Keaton tie-in games. I mean, in the movies, he couldn't even move his neck. Why do I want to play as this? Clearly, they're taking inspiration from the old Mortal Kombat games, and seeing Michael Keaton's Batman move around like this is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. There's just no reason to be running around like that. There's just no reason. This game is essentially Mortal Kombat for ketamine users. I think the worst thing that they did here was have a loading screen that just kept popping up that would just say, hold on. It would just be text that shows up and says, hold on. I don't know if it's trying to encourage me to like hold on for a second longer, or it's just really pissed off at me and it's trying to send me over the edge. It is a two-player game, and Robin's character model is equally as funny. It's good for a quick laugh, but not much else. So I'm gonna give it a D tier. Batman Forever, the arcade game. I have no idea what is happening here. Playing this game feels like someone took my brain out, introduced it to several new elements, reduced it down to a liquid, let it cool overnight and harden, and then forged it into a knife, getting several millions of views on YouTube. I have officially decided that the movie tie-in games for the Michael Keaton Batman movies are the third worst thing to happen to this earth. It's not even worth your time. F tier. Batman and Robin 1998. So this is it. Batman's venture into 3D gaming. And it's basically just Grand Theft Auto. I mean, kind of anyway, right? It's an open world where you just drive around and all I do is just run over people and shoot cars. That's all I did in this game. Now, in most franchises transition to 3D, there are a couple problems that tend to come up the most often. The first one in my experience was the camera, right? You know, when you get into a 3D game, they don't know how the camera's gonna move. The right analog stick is not generally considered to be the way to move the camera yet. So everybody kind of had a different answer for that, you know? Like Resident Evil had those different camera angles. This one made an executive decision. No camera movement. None. You move to the left, you look to the left. I mean, I guess it made sense in the context of Michael Keaton Batman because he moved around like a Gmod character, but it was still just not good at all. Every bit of movement in this game is a trial in itself. Granted, for the time, I'll give it a little bit of a pass, but it's not like level design was a brand new thing, and each level in this game was cookie cutter. While in my opinion, it's one of the worst games on this list, I can understand it being incredibly impressive for that time, which, you know, I'll give some respect to. So instead of giving it an F tier, I'm gonna give it a D tier. Batman Beyond. For years, I have been begging, pleading for more Batman Beyond. And this has existed the whole time, and I had no idea. Clearly, I have a lot of nostalgia for Batman Beyond, and normally, I would totally let that impact the ranking. But this game sucks. Oh, it's so bad. I enjoyed it anyway, don't get me wrong. I just can't in good conscience call this a good game. If you don't know, Batman Beyond is a futuristic storyline of Batman where Bruce Wayne is too old to take up the mantle of the Batman, and so Terry McGinnis steps in and is the Batman. It's a great storyline and not at all represented in this game. They choose to give you these different weapons to use. I thought that was definitely a choice that they made. Like, you know, they definitely did it. It happened. And besides that, the levels are just all the same thing. They are so boring, repetitive, snooze fest, fall asleep while driving, mom died, repent. I hate to say it, but nostalgia cannot save Batman Beyond because it's just not a good game. But please, please make a real Batman Beyond game. I don't care if it's like a Telltale game or anything. Give me something. Even though I shouldn't have, I still had some fun with this, so I'm gonna give it a D tier. Batman Chaos in Gotham. This one was just a really simple platforming game. It had a pretty decent soundtrack, but it got very old very fast. This is another one of the cases where it just doesn't really feel like a Batman game. This is basically just a Prince of Persia game reskinned with Batman on it. It's extremely forgettable. F tier. Batman Vengeance. Oh my god. It's actually good. It's like really good. They got the voice actors from the animated series, Mark Hamill Joker, Kevin Conroy Batman, the perfect voice actors for the roles. They're in the game, and it's good. This game adapts the style of the new Batman adventures into a 3D format in the best possible way. I was blown away playing this game. It still didn't have a free look, but the camera moved in a way that felt more natural. I want to say the gameplay was a little rough, but even then it was all pretty fun to me. I like the use of the gadgets too. They clearly took some inspiration from games like Zelda Wind Waker, because to go into first person to look up and grapple. The problem I had was that the right stick was completely inverted and there was no way for me to change it. But if I could change it, it would have been perfect. I'm also weirdly obsessed with the glide mechanic. I don't even know why. I just like doing it. It just felt good. Especially for that time, this was probably the best Batman game on this list so far. The story had that vague, Batman, world's greatest detective feel where he's tracking down leads and such. I thought having to cuff the enemies after you fight them was a good addition. Overall, this is a really good Batman game. The cutscenes are great. It's fun to play throughout the entire game. And if you haven't played this one, go and play it. Genuinely, I think it holds up to this day. And I'm gonna give it an A tier. Batman Gotham City Racer. Why is it that people thought that all you wanted from a Batman game was to drive his car and not do any of the other Batman things? I had low expectations for this game. But holy shit. I can't even say much about this game. I played it for like an hour and got incredibly bored, so I dropped it. I'm gonna give it an F tier. It's a waste of time. GTA San Andreas. When I was just a little tyke, a little guy, rolling in mud, I'm a little mud boy, I loved YouTube. So I would watch YouTube videos. And there was this one YouTube video of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Batman mod. And that has been ingrained in my mind ever since. And I need you to witness it. I actually went and bought GTA San Andreas and kept trying to drive down into the Batcave, not knowing that it was a mod. Shouts out to Terra Arts Game, because this is a masterpiece. A tier. Batman Rise of Sin Tzu. Remember Batman Vengeance, the game I was just going on and on about how much I loved? Well, this is the continuation of that, just without any of the things that made Vengeance good. They turned this into a top-down kind of beat-em-up style game, and it's just, oh my god, they could have been so good, but it wasn't. It wasn't. If Batman Vengeance is the ultimate Spider-Man of the Batman games, then Batman Rise of Sin Tzu is the Spider-Man friend or foe of Batman games. And some people like that kind of thing. I do not. It's very focused on the co-op gameplay. And you know what? I think it's good in its own right. It's just that going into this with the knowledge that this is like a continuation of Batman Vengeance, and then being let down so tremendously, it just completely soils my opinion of the game. I had a little bit of fun for, I want to say, about 45 minutes, and then after that, it was kind of just boring, and I felt like I'd seen everything there really was to see. I'm gonna give this a C tier. Batman Dark Tomorrow. If I hated someone, and I mean truly hated someone, I'd sit them down in a comfortable room with a nice couch to lay on, all the food and drink they could ever want, and I'd put on only Batman Tomorrow, and then I'd lock them in there for 20 years. There's no way this game was not created by an AI in the future and sent back in time just to screw with people. I'm not really sure if they took inspiration from Resident Evil or a strobe light, but the camera in this game makes it completely unplayable. There is no way to walk in a straight line at all. There's not really any style to the game either. It looks like they took a couple of pictures of Detroit and threw them in a blender. The only good thing to come out of this game was the scene of Killer Croc that just looks like a normal dude walking up and growling at Batman. What's so funny about this is that crocodiles don't growl. And it only gets more awkward from here.
There's gonna be plenty.
I think it is abundantly clear why Batman Dark Tomorrow is an F tier. Catwoman, the game. It's not technically a Batman game, but in what other situation am I gonna get the opportunity to talk about Catwoman, the game? The Halle Berry Catwoman movies are the perfect portrayal of the character, and the Catwoman game is amazing. The point I'm trying to make is I took 42 Tylenol and am clearly delusional. Yeah, this one is the second worst thing to happen to humanity. The combat in this game was controlled by the right stick, and I don't know whose sick, twisted idea this was, but it was not fun at all. The game looks terrible, even for its time, and it's a platforming game that sucks at platforming. The worst of it, though, is how Halle Berry Catwoman walks on all fours everywhere. That's gonna stick with me. I did play this game a lot when I was younger, and clearly I am brain damaged from it. So I'd say it's funny if you can stomach it, but realistically, this game is D tier. Batman Begins. Batman Begins is underrated as hell. This game is the first one to really put you in the shoes of the scary Batman, right? Because you have the first iteration of the heartbeat monitor for the enemies, so you're instilling fear into the enemies. This is something that's used in the Arkham games later on and clearly started here. The 3D camera in the game actually feels good, thank God, and the 3D models that they got for all of the actors from the movie actually look like scary realistic. I'm trying to get a 3D model of me like this. If anybody knows how to 3D model me like a PS2 character, let me know. While I liked all the movies in the Dark Knight trilogy, I didn't really like Christian Bale as Batman. It just did not click with me. I'm not sure why, but that's okay because there's alternate suits for this game. They got alternate suits, baby. They got the blue one. This makes me want to see the blue suit in action so bad. James Gunn, in The Brave and the Bold, please make him blue. Make my boy blue. The game follows the plot of Batman Begins entirely. And there's a problem that comes with that. You know, that's the movie tie-in curse. The game came out just a little bit before the movie, so they couldn't, like, spoil a lot or use a lot. And it just kind of was confusing. There's also stealth sections in this game that were clearly inspired by Splinter Cell, My Baby Girl. And I gotta say, I love it. You know, I love Batman's stealth. That's one of my favorite parts of the Batman games. So this was awesome. The thing that was most impressive for me here was how they captured Christopher Nolan's Gotham into this game so well. I feel like it was incredibly well done. And for a movie tie-in game, which I am not normally a fan of, I liked it. It's incredibly clear that this game gave some inspiration to the Arkham games. And even as it stands here, it's a great game. I'm gonna give it a B tier. Justice League Heroes. This comes off to me like DC's answer to Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It gives you a bunch of heroes to play with, and they all have their cool superpowers. The only problem with that is that Batman doesn't have superpowers, and he doesn't get a lot of attention in this game. So really, you're just limited to like a Batarang, which I think is pretty boring. The story is pretty on point for a Justice League game. It just, as a Batman experience, does not feel very strong. It's still fun to play as, especially playing as Batman in a Justice League setting, I think is awesome, and we need more of. I'm gonna give this game a C tier. Lego Batman, the video game. This first Lego Batman game was a lot of fun when I was younger, but going back, it was definitely a little rough. This was back before they had any of the talking, so it was really just like an implied story and everybody was grunting about it. I think this one of the Lego games has the best level design. I think it was the most fun and goofy to play around in. I'll have more to say about them when I get to the next Lego Batman game, but that's really all I have to say about this one. I'm gonna give it a C tier. Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. All right, start drinking your haterade now, because I'm about to say something controversial. I remember when I was 9 years old and I played this game, and I absolutely loved it. I played through the entire thing, and you know, when Shao Kahn and Darkseid become like one being, that's just insane. That's just batshit insane. Batshit. Do you get it? You said it. Focusing on Batman, though, I have a couple of thoughts. First one being, I think this is the best iteration of the Batsuit in semi-realism, like not fully animated kind of thing, with the white eyes. I really like the white eyes, but it's very easy to mess up. I think they did it very well here. I think the voice acting was incredibly phoned in. Give us Kevin Conroy. Come on, we want Kevin. Batman being a martial artist, that lends itself to a fighting game like this. But I'll say his gadgets, like his special moves, weren't really all that much. I don't feel like he got as much attention in that area, right? You know, you have batarangs and stuff, but whatever. I mean, Joker, on the other hand, I feel like he got way more character in the way he fights with that like punching bag thing that he like shoots out at you kind of, and the bombs he drops, they also made him look like the Giga Chad. He definitely looks like he has interesting opinions about women. Batman kicking Liu Kang and Raiden's asses is just something I absolutely needed in my life. And maybe I'm just looking for things to like about the game, but I really like the Batcave levels and how the Batcave is laid out in the game. I think for a fighting game, it's very subpar just because of some of the other fighting games we're going to get into later, but I still liked a lot of elements about this game, and nostalgia is kicking my ass. So I'm going to give it a C tier. Batman Arkham Asylum. So this is what you were waiting for, huh? Just for this? You didn't want to hear anything else about the other Batman games? You skip right over to the Batman Arkham games? I see how it is. I have an incredibly strong attachment to all the Batman Arkham games, but specifically this one. Because when I was a little kid, me and my brother got the demo for this game on our Xbox 360 and played it over and over and over again, to the point where the sound effects will play in my head from the game. I remember every second of it. When we finally got the game for Christmas, my mom loves to bring up this video for me, so I have to show it to you. I had a very strong reaction to finding it. There's so many things to love about this game. How they get the greatest Batman voice actor of all time, Kevin Conroy, back to play Batman, and Mark Hamill, the greatest Joker voice actor to ever do it, to play the Joker. They bring them back from the animated series, and it's so perfect. I really could talk about this game all day long, but I'm just going to keep to the main points and any memorable experiences. Specifically, the being locked in Arkham Asylum, you know, that feeling of claustrophobia as you're getting down through vents and hiding up on the gargoyles. I mean, I don't know how the people didn't see you up there, but I didn't question it because I'm the mother freaking Batman. The combat was revolutionary. I mean, it completely changed how these 3D action kind of games would do combat. Like, look, we wouldn't have Spider-Man PS4 without Batman Arkham Asylum. We just wouldn't. I think the detective mode was done perfectly. I think the character models are extremely on point. This view of the Joker is exactly how I see him in my mind anymore. And this Batman is an amazing suit. It's an amazing design. I could not have asked for a better Batman game. There's a lot of sections that are memorable for me, so I'm just gonna pick one that was super memorable, and that was the Scarecrow fights. Anything to do with Scarecrow. When you're walking through the hallway and all of a sudden you're walking in on your parents and you're opening the bags and they're dead, and it's like creepy. It's actually using horror in the game. And don't get me started on the moment where the game kind of like blips out and then starts over, and you get that feeling of dread, like, oh my god, the game crashed and it started all over. But then you play through the intro sequence again, but now this time you're the Joker and you are bringing Batman in there. I think it's a cool way to keep the players on their toes and also to tell a story about Batman. He's under the influence of the fear toxins. What is the first thing he sees? His parents. His dead parents talking to him, their expectations. All the elements in this game are, in my opinion, perfect, except for one, that being the notorious ending boss fight against the Joker. Clearly they wanted to up the ante and make the ending boss fight climactic, but you know, fighting the Joker wouldn't really be much because Batman can just, you know, crumple him like an aluminum can. So they gave Joker the Titan formula and basically made him a worse Bane. And it was boring. It was not a climactic ending. If anything, it just didn't feel like a fight with the Joker. This, however, is my only complaint about the game. Everything else is phenomenal. The soundtrack, the voice acting, everything. And that's why I've been saving this spot for you, baby. S tier. Batman, the Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold series really just never did it for me. Maybe it was just geared towards a younger audience, but it never clicked for me. I never really watched it or was interested. This game, it falls in line with that. It's very geared towards younger audiences. And I mean, the Batman and Robin dialogue between them can be funny at times, but really other than that, it just wasn't for me. I'm gonna give it a D tier. Batman, Arkham City. Sequels are a hard thing to get right, but Batman Arkham City absolutely steps up in every way imaginable, giving you this open world Arkham City to explore and find stupid Riddler trophies in, do side quests, things like that. It was the next step in Batman. It's very commonly considered to be the best of the Arkham games, and for good reason. I mean, it introduces that grapple and glide traversal method, which is the second most entertaining method of traversal in any video game, just second to web swinging. The story is completely stepped up and the consequences are carried over from the last game. I'm very lucky that you can't count the hours that you had on old games like this, because if I could, it would probably be in the several hundreds. Mostly everything good I said about Batman Arkham Asylum is stepped up here, right? You know, the characterization of Batman, the Joker, all of it is done so well here. I could gush about this one all day too, so I'm gonna pick one thing to talk about from this one as well, and it's the one that you want me to talk about. It is the fight against Mr. Freeze. In Batman Arkham City, you are this powerful predator lurking in the shadows, hunting down your enemies. But when you fight Mr. Freeze, the first thing you hear is Barbara saying, "Don't fight him head on, Batman. He's too powerful." And now, you're hiding, and he's hunting you. You have to grapple around, hide under the floors, and wait for your moment to strike. And let's say you go for a strike from around a corner. You get him one time, but you won't get him again. Mr. Freeze learns from your attack patterns and will not allow you to attack him the same way twice. So you have to use every trick in your arsenal to make it out of this alive. And the thing is, throughout this entire fight, he doesn't actually want to be fighting you. He just wants his wife back. And he wants Batman to go and do it, but Batman's all like, "No, I'm not going to do it. No, I want my cure," because he's like got poison and stuff. There's like a whole story thing for it. I think it's the perfect example of how a boss fight can push you to use your entire arsenal creatively, and also a good example of how Arkham City delivers its story fantastically. If you like hearing me talk about boss fights, I've got an entire hour-long video with tons of effort poured into it, and a whole bunch of cameos from cool YouTubers that you can watch right after this. It's already up on the channel. There's going to be a card at the end of the video. Just go and click on that and watch it when you're done. I do have one nitpick about this game, and it's that they kind of undermined their own ending, where you fight Ra's al Ghul, and then you go to fight Hugo Strange, only to find out Hugo Strange is being controlled by Ra's al Ghul. And it's like, I already fought you, it's not even that big of a deal, and then he just kind of dies in a cutscene. The ending was far more cinematic than climactic, but that's okay, because that wasn't the real ending, because after that, you go and fight the Joker. Everywhere they messed up in Arkham Asylum, making Joker have this Titan formula, they brought back here, making you think the Joker was fine throughout the entire thing, but really, that was Clayface, and the Joker is dying, and he needs the same formula that Batman needs. And it's this entire confrontation where Batman was still gonna save the Joker and administer the serum that would save his life, but the Joker ruined it and actually died. He dies at the end. I feel like that's such a bold thing to do, is kill off the character that has been a staple for the series so far. It is done so incredibly well, and while I'll say Arkham Asylum, for me, has a little bit of an edge on it, maybe just due to nostalgia, I'm still gonna give this one a fat S tier, just right after Arkham Asylum. Batman Arkham City Lockdown. So this game is just completely gone. Off the internet forever. I can't find a way to play it. But somehow, Jetpack Joyride still sits there scot-free. Why do all the good games go away, but Jetpack Joyride just gets a free ride? You know what? Jetpack Joyride gets a D tier. DC Universe Online. As a man who does not enjoy MMOs all that much, I spent a lot of time in this game. I mean, it is the perfect way for you to create your own hero and mash them into the DC universe. I mean, I had, such famous characters as Man the Man. That's my guy. I will say the Batman stuff in this game is probably the least interesting stuff to me. First off, there's 3 different modes of traversal. There's the super speed, there's the acrobatics, and there's the flying. And if you can have super speed or fly, you're not going to do acrobatics. I'm sorry. It's just not nearly as fun. And also the technology powers are lame. Really, the best stuff in this game is the stuff that's behind a paywall, right? I always use the Green Lantern ring because that's just way more fun. What the game did right was all the different storylines that you could experience throughout the game. And, oh my God, the way that they built Gotham City, you could go to Metropolis or Gotham City, and they felt like literally night and day. Gotham City was modeled perfectly in this game, and I don't know, maybe it's just nostalgia that's doing this for me, because maybe it's not really as good as I remember, but I'm delusional. I loved this game, and I'm giving it an A tier, and there's nothing you can do about it. Lego Batman 2. This is the one that I spent the most time in as a kid. I enjoyed Lego Batman 2 so much. Not entirely just for Batman. I liked playing as Superman and such, but still in Gotham, I thought it was good. I thought, the introduction of actual voices for the characters was good for me, and I liked how it still felt like a Batman game. Obviously, it was very goofy and very much geared towards kids, but as a kid, I spent tons of hours in this game. I'm not really a Lego person anymore. I just don't enjoy them as an adult. But this is one of the few ones where I can go back and play it and have a good time. The open world here as well is by far the best of any Lego game I've played. In fact, I think this is probably one of the best Lego games, so I'm gonna give it an A tier. The Dark Knight Rises. Yet another mobile game that I cannot play. That jetpack joyride goes down to F tier. Gotham City Imposters. I don't know whose idea this was. It felt like some kind of fever dream that I was having, but I loved every second of it. I was never really into like TF2 or any games like that, but this one I was all down for. And there's actually some good elements to this game, like the traversal, like the bounce pad things you can get on and the grappling hook. I don't know. I can't really play it anymore, so I'm going all based on memory. This game, the servers are still up, but nobody's playing it at all. I keep trying to get on the servers and nothing. So if you're watching this video, go play this game so that I can play it. If my memory serves me correctly, this was a banger, and I'm gonna give it a B tier. Batman Arkham Origins. All right, haters, this is the moment. Balance your chakras, please. I'm gonna do it again. Batman Arkham Origins was not made by the same developers that made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. It was made by WB Montreal instead of Rocksteady. And this game is considered by a lot of people to not even be a part of the Arkham series. And I say, they're stupid. While there are different voice actors for Batman and the Joker to represent them in this younger stage, this younger, more vengeful Batman, it still feels like the same character, at least to me. The whole premise of this game is that Black Mask sent a bunch of assassins to go and kill Batman on Christmas Eve. And that's an awesome story. And also, you're playing it at night in the snow, and it's awesome. It's such a cool setting. And probably the most memorable thing about this game for me is when Batman just drops some goon onto the big Christmas tree down there. This is clearly a younger, more rage-filled Batman, and it is fun to play out. I liked all the inclusions of the more minor characters, and I loved the fight against Deathstroke. I feel like it was almost on par with the Mr. Freeze fight for me. I think the detective mode was at its peak, and I don't think any of the quality was lost from Arkham Asylum. I feel like it only went up. And honestly, I think the story was better. Even the twist at the end, revealing that Black Mask was the Joker this whole time, and that this was his first encounter with the Joker. And they let you play as the Joker when he was the Red Hood, that's just cool. I am going to give Arkham Origins a fat S tier. It's not as good as Arkham Asylum, so I'm going to keep that one first, but I'm going to put it ahead of Arkham City. This is where they come and find my house, isn't it? Yeah. Injustice, Gods Among Us. The Injustice storyline was so interesting to me when I first played it, because I'd never even considered the idea of an evil Superman. Now they kind of just get thrown around all the time, and it's kind of boring. But at the time, this was amazing. I actually used to play the online for this game a lot. I was an Aquaman main, and I was whipping people up like I was a fry cook, and they were my little burger patties. I do think this is the best version of Batman alongside the Justice League. I think they did his character very well, and playing him, he has all the fun little gadgets that you'd want from Batman, all the toys and such. His special move is really cool. Nightwing is present in the game. Love Nightwing. I'll take anything that's not what he got in the Harley Quinn show. Side note, I really hate Damian Wayne. I really hate him. I don't know why. I just hate him with a passion. Like the character, the whole character, anywhere I've seen him, I hated him. We want Terry McGinnis. We don't want Damian. We want Terry. I think the writing and the gameplay for Batman in this game is great. And also the Batcave looks awesome. I'm going to give this one an A tier. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. A lot of people hate on the 2.5D kind of games, but I'm a fan. I actually like them, including the Assassin's Creed Chronicles trilogy. I enjoyed those kinds of games. And so this one, it was a welcomed addition to the lineup, and I really liked that the cutscenes were styled after like comic books and such. I thought it looked good. I thought the game played okay. Obviously, it's so much more limited than the actual Arkham games, so it's not ever going to be on par with them. But for what it was, this was a good experience. It's about 6 hours long, so you're not, in it for a super long time, but it stays interesting for at least 4 of those 6 hours. I'm gonna give this one a B tier. Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. When I went to play this one, I got immediately overwhelmed by all the stuff, by all like the different suits that you had to get for Batman and Robin, and I just wanted to get to the open world, and it could not come fast enough, and I did not have enough patience, so when I was younger, I just dropped it. It did too much. I mean, it's called Beyond Gotham because it's barely set in Gotham anymore. It's just a Justice League Lego game. And in my opinion, it lost its focus and lost its entertainment value because of it. And Conan O'Brien is in the game for some reason. Jimmy Fallon got his own Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor, and Conan got Lego Batman 3. This is why Jimmy is my favorite. He is so soft and baby. I'm gonna give this one a C tier. Fortnite. Did you know there's actual like Batman lore in Fortnite? Like Batman, like it's a time loop thing, and Batman was the first one to break the Fortnite time loop, and Catwoman is there, and there's whole comic books about this stuff. And there's like lore in Fortnite, and Master Chief is there, and Ariana Grande is there. F tier. Batman Arkham VR. So this very easily could have been a cookie cutter, throw a couple batarangs and move on, like a lot of the Spider-Man VR games. But in my opinion, this is probably, at least for the time, the best they could have done with it. It did feel like a bit of like a tech demo when I was playing it, but I think for what it was pretty fun. It's obviously not going to be as in-depth as something like a full-fledged Arkham game, but even just the little bit of substance you do get from the game is incredibly entertaining. And just looking in the mirror and seeing the Batman is cool. I'm gonna give this one a B tier. Batman Arkham Knight. I loved this game, but I had a couple of problems with it. Of the Arkham games, this one very clearly perfects the gliding mechanics, and the graphics are still much better than a lot of games coming out today. My only gripes with this one are that Arkham Knight, I think, was a stupid character. I mean, it's just Red Hood, and I know they had to claim it was a brand new character because you could just look up who Red Hood is and get the entire story, but maybe I just don't like the name. I don't know. I think you just could have done Red Hood and it would have been fine. And also the very obvious over-reliance on the Batmobile. I do not enjoy the Batmobile combat or the puzzles where you have to get the Batmobile onto some different roof and pull it with the winch. I hated that stuff. I found it to be so tedious. But I mean, with that being said, God, the atmosphere in this game is unparalleled. The redesign for the Scarecrow, while he was perfect in Arkham Asylum, he's a different character here, and he is designed just for that so perfectly. The inclusion of the Joker, it would normally be such a shoehorned in thing to keep people interested and say, oh, everybody wants Joker, but it was done so well in here, and he still was just that itch scratching in the back of Batman's mind. What I loved the most about it was that it was so focused on not even just Batman, but his legacy, what he left behind. You know, in the beginning of the game, the first words you hear, this is the story of how the Batman died. And you play it out, not through just the lens of Batman, but through all these different characters that you get to play as throughout. And then at the end, when you finally lock away the Joker for good, it is so compelling storytelling-wise, and I could not have imagined it written any better. Also, I need to give it credit for this. The Red Hood DLC might be one of my favorite experiences to ever exist. I really love Red Hood. I'm sure you can tell by the thumbnail. Playing this was perfect for me. That was it. If they could make this a full game, I would be so happy. This and a Batman Beyond game. Please, guys, Batman Beyond game. While everything else is leagues better than any of the other games, I have to give this game an S tier right at the end. I'm sorry. It's the Batmobile for me. It just made it so much less fun. It felt like filler content. This is my Arkham ranking up here. You agree or not? This is where I'm at. Infinite Crisis. I couldn't play this game. I couldn't find it online. I think the servers got shut down or something. But looking up gameplay, it comes off like it's just League of Legends. So I played League of Legends instead, and I'm gonna have to give League of Legends S tier. S standing for shower. If you play League of Legends, please get one. Batman Telltale. The Batman Telltale series does something interesting that a lot of games have a hard time pulling off just because, it's a game, you need the action. They focus in on Bruce Wayne just as much, if not more, than Batman, giving context to a lot of these escapades he's going on and how he's balancing that with his normal life, which I think is such an important part of the character, right? The reason I like Robert Pattinson's Batman so much is because you can see the consequences in his daily life. He doesn't just walk around loving life. He's a freak. Batman Telltale does this perfectly, and with its longer runtime, gives you more time to warm up to this Bruce Wayne, who, while is not my favorite Bruce Wayne necessarily, and they take some liberties with the story that I don't necessarily like, I think this is a step in the right direction, at least. I'm gonna, mush these two together. There's a second season for this. I'm gonna link them all kind of together. I don't really like the Joker in this. I don't like a lot of the villains coming from this game. I thought they were, written a little too complicated, and it was just too much for me, in my opinion. I liked it in the more simple areas, like the Falcone stuff or the Catwoman stuff. So I'm gonna give it a C tier. Batman Arkham Underworld. All right, Jetpack Joyride now goes to double F tier. Injustice 2. I still do not like Damian Wayne. I just hate him. I don't know why. I just do not like this character. Injustice 2 follows the world after the locking up of Superman, and things are starting to get back to normal, but oh my god, Brainiac's here. He's coming to do all these things and stuff, and the only one who can stop him is the evil Superman. I thought it felt forced, right? We got the story we were looking for in the first Injustice, and I don't need to see much else from this world. I'll say that the graphics are phenomenal. The cutscenes look amazing. Everything looks good, and the characters play, better. Obviously, it's just an improvement on Injustice 1, and everything is stepped up in a good way. Batman is fun to play as. All the Bat family characters are fun to play as in this game. My problem is just that the story sucks. It's no fun to play at all. And the gear system is incredibly intimidating. Like, you have to really grind, or I think you can pay money for it. I don't know. I wasn't paying money for it, but just give me suits, or just make it cosmetic so I'm not changing a whole bunch of numbers and stats and stuff. I definitely prefer the first one over this one, and I'm gonna give it a C tier. Gotham Knights. All right, this is our final one, and haters, you're gonna have a field day with me today. I played through this entire game with my girlfriend right when it came out, and I have a lot of problems with it, right? I hate how slow the motorcycles feel. I hate what they did to Red Hood. They just, oh my god, the mystical jump, and he's just so whiny all the time. It's just like, he could have been so much cooler than this, and definitely was not. The enemies were incredibly spongy, and I'm just like punching them over and over and over again, especially the man-bats. Was it meant to be this hard? Because we tried to level up over and over again, and they would get up to be a higher level, so it was just a slog, no matter what. The stealth stuff in this game is pretty much non-existent, right? You either sneak up behind somebody and press a button, or you sneak up behind somebody and press a button. There's no gargoyle takedowns or anything like that, unless you play as Robin, who gets some more stealth stuff, and that was pretty fun. I played as Robin because that's my favorite part of the game. The gadgets were reduced down to a ranged attack where you could just throw stuff like batarangs or whatever, and replaced with these like elemental attacks, almost like an MMO where you have like a whole thing that you can do. I did not like that. And then the knighthood abilities, which is what I think they're called, just sucked. And god, the storyline with Batman was so shoehorned in and stupid, just did not make a lot of sense. And with all of that being said, I still thoroughly enjoyed this game from start to finish. Yes, it had flaws, but I loved going out and collecting all these clues, going back to the Belfry and figuring things out. I loved the boss fight arena with Mr. Freeze. The scale was so impressive throughout this entire game. I liked the story with Clayface. I thought this was the best iteration of Clayface ever made. The combat found ways to be interesting throughout the entire game, and the suits in this game were all so good. I mean, there are a couple of misses here, but a lot of these are bangers. This was clearly meant to be a live service game, and I'm gonna say something nobody's gonna like. I kind of hope that they go back on that and start adding in more content to this game and start working on it more, because I liked it, and I want more of it. It's clearly not an Arkham game. It clearly wasn't intending to be an Arkham game. This is not Arkham's Gotham. This is Gotham Knight's Gotham, and for what they're trying to do, it's cool. I know with all the flaws, it does not deserve it, but this is a tier list based entirely on my enjoyment. And I enjoyed the hell out of these games, mainly because it was just a fun way that kept me engaged and let me spend time with my girlfriend. I'm gonna give Gotham Knights an S tier, right after the Batman Arkham games, of course, but still S tier. I'm not gonna open my mailbox for a couple weeks. And that was my ranking of all the Batman games. Go down to the comments and tell me where you would have ranked things differently. And after you're done with that, click on this card right here that'll take you to a video where I talk about boss fights. So much love and effort went into this video. It would mean so much if you would click on it and give it a shot, because I think you'd really like it. But anyways, click it. Thank you. Goodbye.